Welcome to Two Bees in a Pod, and I am Bilala.
And I am B. Leonga, and this is a podcast about immigrant experiences in the US, sharing our perspectives on various topics.
Including straddling cultures, fitting in, staying connected, learning and unlearning the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Welcome back to season 2. After a 2-month break, we're so glad to be back. So this episode is not going to be not really a structured episode, but we're going to be catching up on what we've been up to, what the world has been up to, and, getting ready for the rest of the season, which I'm really excited about. We have some exciting guests coming. But before we get into that, the icebreaker for today is, while you were away, what was your favorite TikTok mess that you encountered on the interwebs?
See, this is a good one, but it's what I would say, because there's recency bias on this one and also familiarity. The series of the guy who was talking about losing his father, and no, his father is not dead. His father is just dead to him. His father is just dead to him. So essentially, he had a 5-part series talking about how his mother found out his dad was having an affair, and instead of this man to sit down and talk it with her, and he even tried to get his dad to talk, he just walked out the house and walked away from the family and moved on. Like, he had that family for 30 plus years. See, when he started telling the story, I think I told everybody he was Jamaican, because I don't know why. It just sounded like a very...
Hey,
I could tell. No, he might have said something that made me realize that he was an immigrant. Yes, because he said one of his dad's workers, his mom helped that worker get a visa.
Oh, yes.
So immediately it was probably a Caribbean, and the first thing that jumped out to me was Jamaica, but I think he's of Haitian descent. But the reason it's my favorite TikTok mess, the mess aside, he shared a video that after going through this situation, because I think they've been dealing with it for over a year now, and so he took his mom on a trip to Europe. They went to London and Paris, and in this video, like at the start of the video, I'm like watching it, and he says, they were waiting for his brother, and he went to the restroom, and when he came back, his mom found a group of random Cameroonians to sing happy birthday to him. So at first I just looked at it like, okay. And then I watched the whole video, and then I came back to say, let me just check it out, Cameroon is not, more often than not, we tend to know each other. Lo and behold, my uncle and my aunt.
That is so awesome.
It was so funny, heartwarming, and strange, because it's definitely, when I sent it to them, I said, it's good to know that they're the same with everyone, because they were genuinely excited to sing this happy birthday song. And that's just how they are on a regular day. And so I was like, well, at least now the world gets to see you in your natural elements.
That's so funny. Yeah, I was like captivated by that series also, because like you said, his parents have been married for like 30 plus years, right? Like his dad at least is in his 60s, and the woman that he's having the affair with, she's like 31. She's not even mid-30s yet. They have a baby.
They have 2 kids.
Yes, there's an older girl, and then there's like kind of a newborn-ish baby. And the way the dad is like literally not taking responsibility, like we were talking about off air, the dad's family is very much like condoning and co-signing his nonsense. Like, it was incredible.
No, did you watch part 6 where he said, so some of his dad's family watched have seen his videos?
Yeah.
And he said that growing up, his father kept them away from his side of the family. Obviously, because he knew what he was working with. And so now that he's gone back to them, there's also probably feelings of resentment from them, like, this woman took you away, because that's always what it is, right? the head of the household, yet this evil woman took you away from us, so now we have
Mm-hmm.
our brother back. But I find that in a lot of these situations, honestly, which in this one is clear, there's only one person at fault in this whole thing. It's the father. Because usually it's like your family treats your family, they're only going to do whatever you allow them to get away with. And
Exactly.
and you've made a choice now and they're wilding out and you're not bringing them to order, and it's because of you. So there's really only one culprit. Like, he could have handled this. Just the fact that he left and just never came back is wild to me. Well, he has been back to steal things, still, quote unquote, still. He's been taking too. Yeah, no.
Oh yeah, he mentioned that, and I mean, it sounds like from what the guy who's telling us the story, right? It sounds like they're in the process of divorce proceedings, and I hope to God that she cleans him out. But it was really heartwarming to see how the son, like, he really like stood by his mom. He took her on that trip, like you said. I think they went to Barcelona as well,
Also,
London,
yeah.
Paris, Barcelona, with the aunt, and they were having like such a good time with her. I love that for her, and she looks so good, the
Yes,
mom.
she looks really good. And something also to point out is that he has a sibling who's on the spectrum.
Mm.
And this is something that I've noticed that far too often, one parent, I don't want to point fingers, but there's always one parent who is able to just walk out of their family, like child's needs be damned, and just go start afresh, like nothing in the world,
Mm-hmm.
because it does sound like his brother is on the spectrum where he's going to always need somebody to be there to care and take care of him, and you just walked away like it's nothing. And especially
Mm-hmm.
because he said his brother was very close to his father, and for most people on the spectrum, they thrive on routine, and you've disrupted the routine. Nobody knows if this man is coming back, when he's coming back. How do you explain to that, to his son?
But I was trying to think what was my favorite mess, and I don't know, I might have to copy you just because, again, that one is so fresh. But a few days ago, our friend Winnie Parker, she went on. Oh, for the listeners who are not, unfortunately addicted to TikTok like some of us are, Winnie
Just
Parker is a content creator on TikTok, and her content centers around dating, right? So she's a single mom, she's black, and she, basically documents her search, I guess, for a partner, just different antics that she gets up to. And I believe that she prefers dating white men, like the father of her child is white. Anyway, so she recently posted a video where she was on a date with a guy, and I don't know where he took her to, Texas Roadhouse or some boy like that. And at the end of the date, she starts recording where he's telling her that he cannot pay. And listen, I will never sit and argue with a man. And she's really arguing back and forth with him, like, girl, if you don't whip out that card, pay the bill, and walk out of there, like, why are you sitting and arguing with a man who has opened his mouth to say that I cannot pay? Like, why are you lowering yourself to that? Like, I mean, I get it, it's great for views, but I was like, what is going on? Like, girl, stand up.
so I blocked her. Did I block her? I think I probably blocked her months ago, because the secondhand embarrassment I was getting from her content was unnecessary. Like, you're saying that why are you arguing? It's the fact that she records these things and she comes to share. Now, what I typically advocate for, like, I tell people I'm shameless and shame is a human construct designed to hold us back. I want Winnie to have shame. I want her to have
Just a
just
little bit.
small shame. Because if I remember correctly, she shared that. I think she shared once that she went on a date with a guy and realized he was homeless after he spent the night. And then there might have been somebody who did number two in her bed. And she shared. Here's the thing about it.
Oh, God.
She is the person making the choice to share. And you said like it's good for views, but the reason she came into my purview was because she had a campaign with Macy's, and she made a video saying that it's best to have a white audience and not a black audience because black people are not supportive. Like, people come for your mess. They are not really interested in anything that you're selling. Um, and she obviously doesn't have the skills that Beverly Adeze has, because I'll be watching Beverly doing her hair, thinking she's just doing her hair and telling you a story, and then she'll just throw you like she's
It's
so
an
slick with
ad.
it. Yeah, like Winnie hasn't gotten to that, and I really don't know who wants to sponsor her, because she said she got laid off because of her content recently, that she lost her job because of her social media. But girl, put the phone down.
Girl,
Put the
listen.
phone.
And you have a
I
child, man. He's gonna grow up and see these videos. I'm not saying that women should not live their lives because, they're trying, but come
no.
on. Like, and yes, I don't know how, was it before we went on break or after? She's started a GoFundMe because she wanted to pay for this like high-priced matchmaker, some like luxury matchmaker. She started a GoFundMe. I said, "Girl, people are out here donating to Palestinians in Gaza. You tell us to donate
Not even
so you
that.
can
Like,
have a matchmaker?
have you seen the price of food at the grocery store?
Come on."
Like, inflation, shrinkflation, and we are like, why is dating so necessary? She needs to take a celibacy vow and just hang out with her kid for a little bit. Like, ma'am.
Bruh.
Or date offline.
No, but then how she get views? She needs content.
I really hope that her TikTok payouts is great. I hope so.
It has to be worth it for this level of embarrassment. Or maybe she's not embarrassed. Maybe it's us.
I don't think she is. I do not think that she knows what shame is.
Or anyway, all right. So we went on break. I think our season 1 finale aired on April 8th, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we've been gone for a good long time. Apart from binging TikTok, what have you been up to?
Whew, trying to survive. I think right after we got off break, I traveled. I was gone for over like almost 2 weeks. And then when I came back, I had a couple of busy weeks. And then I caught COVID. I did not test. The symptoms of the thing that I had was like a hybrid between the flu and malaria, which is why I think it's the big boy. It's the big boy, the vid. And at this point, like, I'm getting sick and tired of my body. Like, I need my body and my immune system and my respiratory system to stand up, because it's unbecoming. I've just been catching COVID. For somebody who doesn't really go out, I don't understand why I'm the only person in this house who keeps catching COVID with the, not extreme, but like real symptoms of COVID. Because I was out for like 2 weeks with this thing. And then somebody finally said, "Are you sure it's not COVID?" And that's when I was like, maybe.
That's when you got back from your trip?
Like 2 weeks. So I feel like most of May I was sick and then recovering for what feels like the entire month.
So I don't think it was COVID, but I got sick. So that Great American Eclipse was on the 8th, right? So I took a road trip. Yeah. Putting my niece and nephew on blast, my nibblings, but we took a road trip to Hill Country to go watch the eclipse. And when I got back, I started feeling sick. While we were up there in the Hill Country, my throat was making, when your throat starts misbehaving. And I just blamed them because kids are just germ, they're just little petri dishes. So I blamed them for that because I was sick after that, but I don't think it was COVID. I mean, I stayed my ass home anyway, but yeah, I blame them.
Was I home? Talk about the eclipse. Yeah, we went to Indiana to go see the eclipse, it was really, I'm glad we did it, because the little one they had in 2017, I don't know why I did not bother even going to the window to see what was happening. But we went to the Indy, where they have the Indy 500, and they had all these activities and stuff for kids to do, which was good. And then, like 2 clowns, we got on the road right after. Of course, everybody was on the road with us. So what should have been a 3-hour trip took 6 hours.
No.
I want to say 2 of those hours were spent just trying to get out of Indianapolis.
Jeez. No, see, we made a whole trip out of it, and I'm glad we did, because Texas weather like really disappointed us. Like, it was cloudy. We got some glimpses where the clouds would kind of pass, but we didn't get pictures like you did. Like you sent me your pictures, and what other people were seeing, we did not. It was still a really good experience because like we were out, in the country in an Airbnb. Like there were deer out, like kind of wildlife. And when the eclipse happened, of course it got super dark. The birds.
Were they
Huh?
I was asking if the animals were howling and hooting.
No, but the deer, because this was in the middle of the day. It was like 1 p.m., right? And they usually come out at dawn and dusk. So they thought it was dusk and they started coming out. The birds got quiet and you could see them flying to their roosts. Because of course they thought it was really cool and creepy. So I don't regret, being out there for the experience. But man, the clouds, they were not forgiving at all. We didn't have the full experience like you guys.
Yeah, I think I never considered what it would feel like for the animals until I texted you that day and you said, I was like, yeah, it must be really confusing. Like, who's going to explain it to them? Like, hey guys, this was going on.
I know. So, it was cool. It was cool. And yeah, it's just really nice up there in the hill country. Like like I said, we made a trip out of it. We went, there's a lake. It was by Canyon Lake. So we, hung out there and, barbecued and just chilled in the Airbnb. And then we drove down. When did we drive down? The day after. Yeah. So we were not driving down with all the tourists.
See, we should have. I think if we had. So we went the day before and stayed with friends. If we had gone back to their house and stayed till about 7 p.m., we probably would have been in a much better situation. But it was just like we needed to get home because we're traveling like in 2 days.
Yeah. It was cool. That was a cool experience. What else did I do? I didn't do any major traveling. I went to Florida to see my bestie who's training to become a pilot. So that was, exciting. The weekend I got there, she passed her private pilot license. So I got to celebrate that with her. Yeah, now she's, training for the commercial. And then I went to my favorite place, Tulum, also for a few days for my friend's birthday. So that was fun, like a fun little group trip. Oh, so we got pulled over. This is why sometimes it pays to be this is why it pays to be a Cameroonian, because you're used to some kind of thing. So there were too many of us in the car. There were 6 of us in a 5-seater car. Coming back from the day party, just feeling very nice. Got pulled over by the policia, and they take the car documents and they're talking. Oh, you're not supposed to have this number of people in the car. We're going to impound the vehicle. We're going to take the driver down to the station. And then they said, well, there's a fine. You can come with us to the station and pay the fine there, or you can pay it here and now and be on your way. And listen, there were 6 of us. 5 of us were African. Well, 4 Cameroonians, 1 Ghanaian. So we were just like, okay, yeah. Everybody just started removing their pesos. Removing their pesos from their wallet. When we said we're on vacation, we don't have time for this, and we know the drill. Here you go. Go and buy your cerveza. Yeah, so that was like I said, and there was there was one American with us, and of course she was the most scandalized person. Of course. But the rest of us were just like, okay,
it's just this is life as usual. Like, okay, that's no big deal.
But to be fair, in all the times that I've been to Mexico and Tulum specifically, like that's the first time that has happened to me. So it's definitely not as common as in Cameroon. But
the pulling over or the requesting the pesos.
I think both. I've never been pulled over. So
I think they might have more road control stops lately, because I've seen a few TikToks and maybe Snapchat where people are talking about they got pulled over in Tulum.
Okay. I mean, you see them, they're always out on the roads, which again is like kind of a familiar sight, like military roaming around in the back of their trucks and stuff like that.
I guess since that one time the cartels went to go fight at the beach in Cancun, they're not playing anymore.
They ain't playing with their tourism dollars, okay?
I mean, but the
Yeah,
cartels have
but
everything else. Can't they leave the beach? Just, like, you're raising havoc everywhere.
see. But I mean, I feel like it's kind of like Cameroon, right? There's less violence in those areas, those touristy places, because the 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 government is investing more security there. I don't know, because think about the Anglophone crisis.
From my narcos knowledge, and narcos and my Mexican geography are intertwined because literally I map Mexico based off the different cartels and like the provinces. So I have an idea because it was like Sinaloa cartel did not have a border, so they had to pay duty to everybody, the Tijuana cartel. Anyways, there was no Quintana Roo never had a cartel in the narcos,
Okay.
and from everything that I've read, they never really had, like, because I did not realize that Sinaloa had beaches, because I thought it was landlocked since they said they didn't have a border. They just don't have a US border, but there's a beach
Mhm.
in Sinaloa.
Interesting. So I wonder what's going on in Quintana Roo. Maybe it's just, I don't know. But yeah, I'm definitely grateful that there's because I'd be going there like 2 times a year. So yeah, that's interesting. If you like, I haven't seen Narcos, but if you like drug shows, I don't watch Snowfall. I'm telling you, like, that's one of my favorite all-time TV
I watched
shows.
the clip. I'm going to watch it because I think there's like one of the kingpins in there. I probably watched his story, like documentary version. There was a time where any narco documentary came on. I watched any narco trafficking thing that Netflix had. I watched it
Yeah.
for research purposes,
like
please.
Yeah, I never got into Narcos. I mean, I'm sure I would enjoy it. Did you watch Ozark?
No.
Oh, okay, you have no, that one that is good. That's really good. You have to. Okay. Anyway, so that's what we've been up to. There have been things happening in the world, unfortunate things for the most part. So I don't know. It seems like the world is on fire, right? Like there's a crisis in every corner. The top ones that, at least in terms of exposure, Palestine, Congo, Sudan, but I feel like this year I've learned about so many crises all over the world, and there's a kind of helplessness that overcomes you, but also an awareness that it's almost the same playbook everywhere, and they're linked. A lot of these, the way the systems of power operate around the world is the same playbook, and they are also linked in ways that you would not expect.
Yes, and I have not been keeping up. I've decided that for my sanity, I live in a bubble. So I don't. There are things that I read about, and like some that I know that I will not deep dive. But I think because we now live in like this global world and all our supply chains are interconnected. I was eating a kiwi today and it came from Greece. And I was just wondering, like, so nobody around here grows kiwis. Like, why the kiwi have to come all the way from Greece? And that's not something I've ever thought about. Like, I always assume fruits come from like warmer regions. That was interesting. So I think, yes, because we have this global world and some places have more resources than others, and we are all dependent for one thing or another. There's a connection, that there's a linkage in almost every situation. But at the same time, I don't think that any of this is new, in the sense that I think that with social media now, we are just more aware of things that are happening around us in a way that back in the day, if you didn't listen to BBC World Service or something, you would not know about all the conflicts. So just it's more that we have more resources, that we're able to find out things faster and sooner, and not that it's more of them happening. But yeah, it just feels like everywhere is on
Mhm.
fire, to be honest. You just, you know that meme of somebody just sitting there and there's like a fire. It's like, I'm okay, but this.
Right. I mean, so they're not new, but there have been escalations, right? At least in the three that I named. Of course, Palestine, we know that since October 7th, when there was a Hamas attack in Israel, and Israel, I'm not even going to say they retaliated, but they used the opportunity to basically commit genocide against Palestinian civilians. By the way, if you live and work in America, I hope you know that that's where your tax dollars are going to fund that. So think about that next time you're sitting at your desk hating your job, however many percent that you're paying in taxes. They're using that to essentially subsidize Israel's military. So anyway, yeah, and then same thing with Congo. Again, it has been going on for decades, but it has escalated. I believe in the last year, this group called the M23, which are one of the rebel groups that are essentially fighting for control over these resource rich regions where they're mining the things that they use to make our phones and laptops. Yeah, there's just been an escalation. And allegedly, those M23 rebels are again receiving military aid from Rwanda. Allegedly.
See, the Congo one is one that I've paid attention to, or like every now and again. But I tell people, because I last week I followed somebody, and I always like when she's doing her brain dumps, like as she's learning, she's sharing. And she's like, she really wants to understand this Congo crisis. And I was like, yeah, I'm with you. I want to understand because I have a classmate who works for the UN in Congo. And so when she just started that job, maybe 2015, 2016, every now and again she would need help, maybe like translating a report, and I would do it. And I was just, the things I read in that period, I don't want to ever read them again. I just, it was just a lot where I always checking on her, like, you need to take, it's time for you to get out of there, but she's still there. However, it's the layers to the things that are happening in Congo. And I want to segue to say, like, some oftentimes, like, my curiosity in this situation has been what has happened now that is different. Because I think about it, like in 2012, I don't know if you remember when there was like the Stop Coney campaign for a minute and then it like fizzled. I've been trying to understand what is happening now that is different, because part of the things that I've understood about Congo and how it has ended up the way that it did. For one, I was looking at it before we started recording. Congo has 10 land borders, where it has 10 neighbors. That in itself is already a recipe for disaster. We all know about King Leopold, no need to go into too much. But the one thing that I'd learned about Congo a few years ago was that it's one of the biggest countries in sub-Saharan Africa, and at the same time, it's one of the least connected. The Belgians did not build roads, they did not build rail. They used the river, probably the River Congo, to get things in and out of the country. And so it just seems like the perfect storm waiting to happen from the time Congo became a country. Because the capital, for instance, Kinshasa, is not even centralized. Kinshasa is like, and sits on western edge next to the Republic of Congo Brazzaville. And so the government is like cut away from most of the country. And then when you come into Mobutu fighting to hold power, and then Kabila overthrowing him and coming into power, and Mobutu loyalists and the agents of chaos. And then you also bring into what I learned recently was there's like an ethnic group called the Banya Rwanda who are in Congo, maybe Uganda and Rwanda. And then there's like all history from before the 94 genocide. There was like a previous ethnic cleansing in Rwanda back in maybe the 60s. And like in that time, Paul Kagame's parents actually were some of the Tutsi refugees who ran away from Rwanda to Uganda. And like Paul Kagame came up in Uganda. He went to military school with the Ugandan army, and there's so much linkage between these countries and all this chaos. It is said that there's like 150 different rebel groups, and every rebel group is controlling their little part of the country and doing chaos. And then one of the most despicable things is the amount of sexual violence that they use as a weapon.
Yep.
And what particularly stands out, it's in this case, is not just children and women, it's men also. There's a lot of sexual violence against men. But through all that, people are making deals for mining the minerals. Like if the government is only controlling the region around Kinshasa, then how are the Chinese, for instance, getting mining rights in these places that don't even have roads? I heard a very crazy story where somebody was making a deal and they told them to bring an aeroplane to somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Congo. They took it and then rebels arrested them or said they reneged on the deal. So somewhere in the middle of the jungle, this plane is sitting there till today abandoned. There was an American citizen and maybe a citizen from another African country. They were able to use third-party facilitators to get the American citizen out of there. The person was telling the story said to this day they don't know what happened to the other person, or maybe they were there maybe 2-3 months for something that their employer said go and handle this, and then you go get stuck. Saying all this to say, I don't understand it, and I hope that because today I saw somebody say there's a genocide in Congo, and I'm like, wait, did I miss something? Like, what is happening? And that's when I tried to do this, like, let me understand based off of what I know in the past, but what has happened recently, and I could not find that. And I think that's something that I'm getting really frustrated at recently is when people jump, and I don't want to call it bandwagon, but whenever there's like a big outcry, maybe the cynic in me is just like, why now? Why this particular thing, and what exactly is coming? Because there's so much misinformation these days.
There is. So I don't really take that stance of why now, because it's better than never, right? There's an increased awareness, and the people who are raising awareness for those causes, yeah, would they have liked that people knew about it whenever, it has been going on? Yeah, but it's better than never. And you were talking about the history of Congo. We cannot talk about it without talking about Patrice Lumumba and how the Belgians, essentially conspired to execute him. Maybe the history of that country would have turned out very different, and the CIA. That the trajectory of that country would probably look very different, right? If these foreign powers were not meddling for the very reason that we're stating, because it's a resource-rich country. Yeah, but I understand what you mean about like wanting to be in a bubble, but I don't know. I feel like as painful as it is,
it's a feeling of help. It's a feeling of helplessness, and I think about it in a very personal, like being a Cameroonian. We've been watching this thing happen in our own country, where if you go to Douala, for instance, everybody has a relative that has been displaced. Or I would say the one thing that my late grandmother always wanted to do was be buried next to her husband. Now she's sitting in Boya. It's been 5 years. We don't know when or how we are going to be able to manage that. And so it's like I face that one and I'm like, okay, how can I help the people there? But the whole feeling of helplessness, like, okay, I'm aware. I know that these are the things that are happening. Like I said, I used to read my friend's reports and like most of her job was trying to rehab child soldiers. But it's like you do the work one day and then somebody comes and attacks and steals the children you've been working to rehabilitate for 3 months. Like, what do you do? And so for me, my thing is just like, I try to be aware, but I also try to like protect myself because there's only so much helplessness that I personally can't handle, but I always try to be aware.
Yeah, be aware and like help where you can, right? Your $5 or whatever, I don't know, it might make a difference somewhere, somehow. Okay, so that's the world's on fire. In the US, so Donald Trump recently got convicted of 34 felony counts. I don't even know what all the 34 are, but he's a convicted felon. And it may surprise, I don't know who may be surprised, not me, but it may surprise somebody that that's not going to stop him. It doesn't make him ineligible for running for president.
Is
Um,
so they said the founding fathers did not think that it needed to be said.
actually, I don't think that being a convicted felon, just knowing the U.S. justice system, right? I don't think being a convicted felon should stop you from running. It certainly should not stop you from voting, which it does today. Convicted
Yeah,
felons, I think it's only one state that has been able to
Color
overturn that. I thought it was
Colorado has
Florida.
no Florida. He cannot. The funny he can run, but he can't vote in Florida. Florida has completely in 2018. I think they voted to restore voting rights to felons in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
That little midget in Jacksonville passed an order saying taking back the rights
Oh,
from,
they overturned it.
yes, he
Okay.
overturned it.
Yeah.
Colorado is now the first state to mandate that they take ballot boxes to the jailhouse so that even people who are incarcerated can be allowed to vote.
Yeah. So to be honest, like I don't think that it should stop you from running for president. But if we were people who had common sense in this country, to your point, like even if he were eligible, he should not be on the ballot because people have common sense and they see that this man is a fraudster, right? But unfortunately, common sense is not common in the US of A. So
Hate is stronger than common sense in America.
listen, when is the RNC? I think it's like within days of his sentencing, right? I don't think he was going to be sentenced to jail, but the Republican National Convention is in
Um,
July.
he's been trolling the judge. He's been violating things. They've tried to dox the judge's family. Um,
God.
so the judge has no reason to take it easy because he's been violating every single thing. He did it even again after they got the verdict.
But again, I have not really done a deep dive into the charges and what the range of sentencing is. Is jail even like an option for those, or is it more financial?
It's 3 to 4 years for every count.
Okay. Yeah, to be honest, I don't think I don't think he's gonna be sentenced to any jail time. It'll be fines and some other kind of restriction, probation or whatever.
I don't want Judge Martin to take it easy. It's amazing how when you come to America as an immigrant, there's so much like you do the test to become a US citizen, you have to sort of learn how the government functions. It's amazing how people who are born in America have no idea what was happening because this was a state case, and there are people who are saying they'll take it to the Supreme Court. It's a state case. They, this was the state of New York against him. They're like, oh, they're going to appeal. Somebody said they would like for them to appeal because the court of appeals that he would have to appeal to is made up of 5 black women.
Anyway, so I'm gonna put my prediction now. I'm predicting. So my prediction is that he's not going to be sentenced to jail, right? Obviously, he's not ineligible. The RNC will, confirm him as their nominee in
That's
July.
spineless.
They will, and
Of course.
he will win the election in November. That's my prediction. I'm not saying that that's what I want to happen, but that's
That
that's
it just
that's
and
my
if it
prediction.
happen, the thing about him winning is he ain't leaving. Let me tell you something. He left the first time. He said everything that they are going to do. They've talked about it. And it's the same way that he said all the things that he was going to do the first time. And when he did it, people were surprised. Like, I don't know why you're surprised. They said what they're going to do. So, my only thing about this election that I have to say is like, look here, buddy. You have you have to vote for you make choices based on the things and people that will do the least damage to you and others. I think about it like on the airplane where they said if there's low cabin pressure, wear your own mask before you are going to help people. Don't go like, oh, she's older than me. You don't know the state of the next person's lungs. I'm not thinking, hey. So make the choice, but also do your research. In my states, I found the balance that is coming this year. They usually do like judge recalls. So they have judges who are nominated to the bench, and you can recall judges if they're not doing a good job. And in 2020, there were like 40 something judges. You don't want to get to the voting booth, and that's when you're trying to figure out who's the bad
Yeah.
judge, who's the bun. So, like, your state, county, city elections, depending on how it's ran, usually will have your ballot available. So you should be able to go there, put in your address, find your ballot, print it out, look up your candidates, look up, especially you want to look at your local elections. You want to see who's running for school district, school board, library, so that they don't go banning books, things that
A good resource that I use kind of to prepare is the League of Women Voters. I've just found it very easy to navigate. They have an app or the browser, and you can, it kind of really makes it easy. It shows you the candidates, like their stances on, particularly for like what you were saying, right? These kind of these smaller races where there's some positions that maybe you haven't even heard of before. Like, what does this position do? What does the controller do? What does this person do? So they break it down and make it really digestible. So definitely prepare in that way, and don't go to the ballot and just be, just pressing play
or,
and
do-
to
or, or,
move.
undervoting. So I've worked a lot of elections the last 4 years, and I've had people undervote. They say they just want to stay on the polls. I had a couple come. They were Southeast Asian, and the lady did not vote. And I kept trying to say, "Hey, ma'am, you have not voted." And her husband interfered. I was like, "It's okay." But there are people who come, and I'm like, "Hey, you didn't check for your judges," and they're like, "It's only the president that matters." And I cannot say anything in that situation. It's like, okay, but those are the things that actually affect you on a day-to-day basis.
True that. But I'm gonna be honest, and this made me cynical. America deserves Donald Trump. America really deserves that man because, yeah, because ain't no way. Like a significant amount of the country voted for him the last two elections, right? So these are the people that we live with. And listen, fuck Joe Biden. I'm not advocating for that man either, but I'm saying, like, if Donald Trump wins, America deserves him. Because clearly a significant amount of the population agree with everything that he's saying.
The irony of it is that a lot of these people, didn't they say that when he leaves those things, he doesn't do handshakes, he doesn't want to touch people, he don't care about these people. Like, he does.
They care about him, obviously.
He's reaching out to the things. I said to somebody recently, I said, I went to undergrad in Arkansas many moons ago. The way that the country is today, I would not recommend anybody do that currently. The way that we exist today. No, because back then then again, I was fresh off the boat, not super knowledgeable on like civil rights and a lot of these things. But I did have people that I knew where we would joke like, "Oh, you kissed a black boy," it's like, "Oh yeah, I can't take him home. My grandmother would come out to the porch with her rifle." These are things that were said back then. Can you imagine how much worse it is today?
I feel like in those kind of places, though, I don't know, is it really that different? They were saying it, but they were just saying it maybe in a lower voice. Now they're shouting.
No, this was us having conversation, and I laughed too. Or I had a classmate who always be like, come here, kiss me, so you'll be my first black girl. And
Ew.
like,
What the hell?
I'm just saying that they were probably, maybe there were people who felt a certain way about like international students on campus, but it was not very blatant. Where now I think that it would be, what is stopping them from saying go back to your country, or things like that. So I'm saying, like, I did not like it. It was not an ideal situation. I did not like being there, but I cannot imagine how much worse it would be today.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you. And there's this man, I don't want to call the wrong place, but there was a video going around. I want to say Arkansas, but it was one of those states where on a school campus, this one of the students was literally making like monkey gestures at a black woman. I don't know the context, but regardless, like there's no way like that was okay. But yeah, to your point, those are the kind of people that are continuously emboldened by Donald Trump. But it's not just him. We did not talk about this. My favorite TikTok mess: bleach blonde, bad built, butch body.
The last B was silence.
Listen. My God.
It was 7. We all heard the silent B.
That was so satisfying to watch. So satisfying.
I think that's the only way. It took them a minute to get it, and then
the one guy said, "What now?"
I think
he
that
said,
was
"What now?"
Yeah, when it clicked. So like you can talk about somebody's fake lashes when they talk about your 70s. It's
cleared her.
I just want to know how people so witty. I could never. I would think about that next year.
I could not. Oh man, that exchange was. And then have you seen all the remixes that they've made on TikTok? Like if you're gonna turn the Congress into a circus, then get ready when the clown comes back to bite you.
It was Jamie Raskin who realized what was happening. He was just like,
and he kept looking like.
He was just like, okay.
Oh, man.
And then when AOC was like, girl, baby girl, I was like,
okay. She was about to get in it too. She was trying to compose herself.
We've seen those videos of like House of Assembly, House of Royalty in England. People were fighting. So I'm like, please, there's no say America has got. We have just joined the rest of the world.
Because we have because
it do be happening in different countries. They be fighting.
In the Caribbean, have you seen clips of some of their parliaments, bruh? We have not started. This is like we're just joining them, to be honest. Anyway, that was hilarious. So, we were talking about Mexico earlier. They just elected their first woman president, and Claudia, I don't want to butcher her name, Sheinbaum. And she's not just any woman president. She is actually a climate scientist, and she contributed to a report that won a Nobel Prize. So that was pretty impressive. And what was cool about this election also is that not only did a woman win, but 2 women were the front runners for that election. So that was pretty awesome to see. She seems progressive. She is a leftist from everything that I've read about her, but again, I'm not done like a super deep dive. But anyway, Mexico, I love it for you guys. I also love it for Senegal. They also earlier this year elected their youngest president at 44 years old, and all the Cameroonians were. Have you seen that meme where is it Squidward who's looking out the window and Patrick and SpongeBob are like prancing along out of the street? The Cameroonians and Squidward were just looking and saying, God win.
They are prepping. People should not be God winning because they are prepping Frank Biya for you people. So
at this point, we'll just take anybody younger.
No, please, I beg.
Let's get out of the geriatrics first.
I beg.
Baby steps.
Is the same geriatrics prepping Frank Biya for us. And no. It's like my problem with Frank Biya is like his father can be bad. He can be worse. Like worse. Listen, let's please.
No, you know what I predict? I do agree with you that he's going to be the next, right? Unfortunately, and I hate that for us, but that's what's going to happen. But you know what I think he's going to try to whitewash his image the way this Saudi prince did when he took over. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen with Frank Biya. He's still going to be doing the nonsense, but he'll try to make an image.
They're already doing. The only thing that can happen is like, yes, now he's like towing and doing whatever, and then maybe when he gets there, he would decide like, I'm done with you. The way that one arrested all his uncles and beheaded some of them, but Frank Biya has no notable achievements in this life. I will contrast him. I always contrast him with Isabella dos Santos. She took
Mm.
Angola's money, but she built corporations. She stole the money, but she built corporations. Frank Biya has never completed a single thing in Cameroon. If you go around Douala, they can show you abandoned projects that his shell company was awarded a contract for all over Douala. When he was in France, he got into a mess and Mendoza's child went to prison for him. So, Frank Biya is not known for being an enterprising, dynamic, like, yeah, him and
Yeah.
Teodoro. I think his father maybe keeps him on a leash. That's why he's not like a Teodoro Obiangema, just, travel to that $50,000 cash. But history has not proven that is somebody who is able, which is why they are grooming him to put him there. Because
I'm not
they
saying that
think
he's competent. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that he will try to present this kind of image to the world, or I'm coming to, do things differently. I'm coming to be progressive, but in reality, of course, it's going to be the same old story, right? Anyway, so let's stop talking. Well, I was gonna say let's stop talking about depressing stuff, but this is also depressing. If our listeners recall, last year, Cassie, who is the ex-partner, girlfriend of Sean P. Diddy, Brother Love Combs, she sued him in civil court, and they settled out of court for, I don't know the amount, but it's alleged, 30 million. She sued him essentially for assault that she underwent during her, was it 10 years that they were dating? 10-year relationship with him? It was long.
Yeah, it was maybe over 10.
Yeah, so he settled, but then very quickly put out this statement saying that, essentially,
enough.
Yes, people are trying to, spoil his good name, all of this. And what do you know? This year, just a few weeks ago, a tape from, was it the Ritz or some hotel?
Continental Hotel, Los Angeles.
Don't be calling the wrong people. They'll come and sue us.
Intercontinental.
Yeah, so video footage, right? Which I don't know where this footage came from, where it has been all this while.
She said in the initial suit that she filed that he paid $5,000 to get the video.
That was 50.
Maybe it's 50. There was 5. They said the feds are the ones who leaked the video because the feds they raided his house. What was that? March or February, and they raided his house and they took tapes. So it's possible that, because if he paid back then, somebody probably had a copy of it. They said he was getting too comfortable. Like, he had started posting like family vacations, and he was, posting all these Mother's Day tributes to all his children's moms. But he was getting comfortable, so they had to send him back into the hole. But that video was chilling, man.
Yeah, so for those who have not seen it, it's essentially Cassie is running, right? She's clearly trying to get away. She's running towards the elevator, and Diddy comes. He has a towel on.
With towel. That thing could
White
have
towel on
fallen.
his waist.
It could have, and socks. And socks. Do you know how crazy you have to be to run out of your room with no shoes and a towel it's not your house.
Listen.
Like, I don't know if they had the floor to themselves, but housekeeping could be anybody could have been coming up to that floor. This Negro is out there.
And proceeds to assault her. She falls on the floor, and he is stomping on her. Hey, God. And then, the video comes out, it's made public, and then he puts out this nonsense apology video.
I did not watch that. I refuse to watch.
I didn't. Yes. I've only seen snippets of it when people are, stitching and commenting on it. I don't watch that nonsense. Get out of here.
He should keep the same
darkest part of my life.
He should keep the same energy he had in December when he said enough is enough. Like, you're apologizing because you got caught, not because there's evidence we can all see your actions. You're not apologizing because you're sorry and you feel any kind of remorse.
Not at all. And the ironic thing about the stupid apology, he actually did not even apologize to Cassie in that apology. He was apologizing to the people who are watching, to us. not to the person who he as like, which is crazy. Yeah. And of course, as expected, the clowns are defending him, you know, as per usual. There's no surprise there, victim blaming and coming to an abuser's defense. But what else is new?
Which is wow. Someone I know was having a conversation, and all I kept saying is like, "Why are you still even? There's nothing. Like, you shouldn't have to watch that video to believe what she said, because she went
Mm-hmm.
into so much detail in that thing, and there's like evidence of it. I remember the tweet where she said he blew up the car, what, Kid Cudi's car, like a car blew up in front of his house. And then we went on Twitter, and there was somebody who posted a tweet from 2012 where they said Diddy and Kid Cudi were fighting at a club. So it's I don't know if you read the Rolling Stone article where they talked about him from as far back as Howard University, where he was assaulting a female, and like people had to run out to go help the girl. And he wasn't at
Is
Howard. He wasn't at Howard for that long. So he's gotten away with it his entire life. Like, he's always been able to get away with things like that. And then something that was really grimy is after BIG passed, when Biggie died, they wanted to do a tribute cover, and he refused and said and they did the cover with him because he had an album, and he said Biggie dying was good for him, was good for business. Yes.
Jesus. The man is clearly a
No.
psychopath. But I would find it very hard to believe that the other people at his level in the industry did not know. People like Jay-Z, you're telling me like y'all did not know that this man was like this? Anyway, I'll let you cover this topic because, to be honest, I was not really following. It was very amusing, but this rap beef between Kendrick and Drake, I don't know the head or tail of it.
So what's his name? Tom Hanks' son, Chet Hanks, posted him explaining to his dad, and I think that that's the best explanation. So if you have not seen it, just look for Chet Hanks a rap beef explanation. I think
Okay.
the high level version is they J. Cole, Kendrick, and Drake sort of came up in the industry at the same time, and it's always been like who's the best, and they've thrown shots at each other or something. Then something happened, somebody hopped on the verse to say something. J. Cole too got in the melee, but it was like, that's out of character for me. My bad. And he stepped out. And then now these other two were out here. And so, like, when Kendrick dropped his first one, they're like, this is those lights, it's the streets or the people. It's like, this is a sleeper song. It's not really giving a hit. So he gave us Not Like Us. I said, I don't even know how to crip walk, but immediately that song comes on, I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, crip walking, and he gave us a banger, and now they play it at the club, and I can't wait to be at the club when they play that song because, that's my jam. I didn't really listen to any of Drake's songs because he was not, and then
Apparently they were weak, right?
Metro Booming, who is a producer out of Atlanta. I don't remember why he was in the mix, but I think Drake called his name. So Metro Booming released this thing and said he'll give prize to somebody who put something on the beats, and he released it with no copyrights. So anybody and everybody's free to remix. And if you're on TikTok, you should have heard all the 10 variations of BBL Drizzy. My favorite has to be like the merengue. The merengue
I'll
is really
look it
good.
up after this.
And the person, he uploaded it to Spotify and Apple Music. There's an emo version, there's a country version, there's a soca version. I think somebody did
Jesus.
one for Afrobeats, and it's like, how can you get cooked in every genre in the world? Like, do you know you almost brought world peace back?
You almost united the diaspora.
Like, you gotta look in the mirror. Like, he needs to spend the summer with Adonis. And you know what is funny? There's somebody who has been making these videos, and every time Adonis is dancing in the background. So all of
Bruh. Y'all leave that kid out of it.
He needs to just spend
Um,
time away from the limelight with Adonis this summer because it's crazy. It's really
but
wild.
which song? So which of the songs was it where Kendrick was basically airing his dirty laundry, talking about how he's an abuser?
What was that first one?
Meet the
Euphoria?
Grahams. Was
I
it
did
Meet
so that's
the what's it called?
I didn't listen to that one.
I don't know.
Because they were
I
they were
didn't listen to
coming
any of
I
them.
had a long day and they were just dropping, and then by the time I came back we were at They're Not Like Us, and I forgot because I listened to Euphoria and he talked about some things here and there. It might have been
Mm,
Meet the Grahams, but
okay.
um yeah, it's
All right. So we are back doing our book of the month as usual, and our June book of the month is Under the Udala Trees by Chinelo Ogparanta. And I've read this book some years ago. I'm really excited to read it again and discuss it. And we chose this book, well, it's kind of a spoiler, but we chose it because this is Pride Month. So, in honor of Pride Month, we wanted to read this book. And just a quick summary from Goodreads, it says Under the Udala Trees is a deeply searching, powerful debut about the dangers of being and loving openly. I don't I don't remember a lot about it, but I know that it made me sad, and I'm looking forward to that feeling again.
is everything okay? Listen, no. I've been in my romance bag. And the one thing I've done since we're offline, I've read a lot of romance. Like I actually
Mm.
went back and read all the Bridgerton books. I've been reading just happy. Like there's what I'm not looking forward to because I always feel very sad when I read books. Is this a spoiler? I guess. Yes, it is. I'll stop. But I get very sad when I read books that relate to conflicts like war and especially the war in question. Um,
Mm.
because I feel like it's not given, they don't talk about it with the seriousness that it deserves. Like, it's like maybe 20 years from now when we talk about this conflict, people want to talk about it in one sentence versus something that has deeply impacted a lot of people's upended families and people have lost loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, without giving too much away, definitely pick up that book so you can read along with us. I just want to recommend, other books by that feature queer characters. The Death of Vivek Oji by Akweke Emezi. I really love that book. It's another sad one. There's a theme here. It's another sad one, but I highly recommend that. And then A Long Way from Douala, which is actually written by a Cameroonian, Max Lobe. Um, I recommend
I
that as
feel,
well. I love that book.
is he based in the US?
No, in Switzerland.
The name sounded
He's
familiar.
francophone.
No, because it sounded back in the clubhouse days. I think I met like a queer Cameroonian who lived in the Pacific Northwest.
I don't know if he has ever lived in America, but I know the last time I looked him up, he seemed to be based in Switzerland.
Okay.
And that book was originally written in French. So
Mm.
for the people who read French, you can get a copy in that language too. But I definitely recommend. Yeah, but Death of Vivek Oji, man, that one will turn you upside down. So
Mm-mm. No. The world is doing a good job. So
listen.
I'm going to go and read Bridgerton, where I'm reading like,
I know, just smiling at the page.
yeah, that is the kind of book that I like to read. And then when I'm done, it's like, I feel good. I feel light. You must have a lot of joy in real life to want to read heavy books. That's the only way that I see it. It's kind of like how people say, I remember going to Six Flags with a bunch of Africans, and they said Americans don't have stress, so they manufacture stress at theme parks, raise the adrenaline. Meanwhile, everyday living in Cameroon is stress. Is
I think there's some validity behind that, because why do you want to scare yourself like that? Honestly,
why are you reading a sad book? You know
it's different. It's different.
no, no. It's not. I used to read. I used to read heavy books, and I'll finish the book. I'll just be like, wow, the world is such a
Mm-hmm.
sad place. How can human beings be so evil to each other? I remember reading this girl's book, her account of like the Rwandan genocide where they killed her,
Oof.
and it was the neighbors. It was people they had grown up with. Somebody called up on her brother and said they wanted to see what a PhD brain looks like.
Jesus.
And this family hid her in this small space. And I remember reading that book. This was what, 2012, and it was just like, damn, how can people be that evil? So now I don't need that
That's
anymore.
what, like, mob mentality is something that is very scary to see, because how do you just have that much hatred for a group? I don't know. It's crazy. Your
I think that
neighbor.
it comes to like all the things, racism, xenophobia, most of these things. It's like you're
Mm-hmm.
going through something, you're experiencing something. The real person who is responsible for this thing, they're out of reach. You don't have access to them. So you find the
Mm-hmm.
low hanging fruits and decide that is this low hanging fruit that is the cause of all these things that are not going well.
This is a bit of a tangent. I feel like when I hear, and I'm only bringing this up because it's Pride Month, but when I see the vitriol that Africans have towards queer people and the way that they speak, and I see it a lot because I mean, in the past years, in June, like I'll make some content on my TikTok, about essentially LGBTQ rights for Africans, and the vitriol that I receive from other Africans, not just Cameroonians, because my audience is mostly Africans. I feel like our governments have done something where it's like what you're saying. They're incompetent. There are so many problems, right? And I'm not saying that that's the root of the homophobia, but they kind of, you see them passing this anti-gay legislation. Like, why are you putting resources to pass this legislation when there's so many other problems in the country? But then the people are kind of, in a way, distracted by that. It's like, of all the countries, of all the problems that you people have in that country, poverty, unemployment, this and that, you are not questioning why your government is focusing on this anti-LGBTQ legislation. It's not.
Oh, like this is a slight sidebar, but a lot of, especially in recent years, there was one in Uganda, maybe Malawi, and those bills were sponsored by right wing US evangelicals.
Listen, that does not even surprise me one bit. That is this. I'll be curious about the ones that have recently passed in Ghana because that's the one that comes to mind.
That one is strictly distraction. NPP is down bad. That's
that's what I'm saying. But people buy into that, and it's like,
because
these people are playing in your face.
It's between the pastors, Christianity, where
Mm-hmm.
it's like, and then they're using that as a distraction. It's like double whammy. I just don't understand this, and I think that's one of the reasons why I feel sad that our culture is predominantly like an oral history culture, because I really want us to be able to look back in time and be like, what was and how did it go? Because there's so much that we don't know, and then we make up narratives, or other people make up narratives and give it to us, and we are holding it as our culture, as if our culture is static. But let's not get into
Exactly.
that today.
Yeah, we will get into that on other episodes. But anyway, okay, so we're glad to be back. We now have visuals, which, if you're watching this on YouTube, but if you're listening on Spotify or some other podcast platform, we do have a YouTube channel, and we will be posting full episodes there, and then short reels and clips on our Instagram. So make sure to follow us on all of the things. We're on Instagram at 2bspod, and then you can follow the link tree in our bio to our YouTube and all the other places, or just search two bees in a pod. But I don't know, SEO and all of that, if you'll get it right away. So it might be easier to just follow the link. But yeah, we're glad to be back. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And until next time,
Softly, softly, catch monkey.
Meaning,
What does it mean though? Like
uh, it
patience?
means, yeah, it means like one step at a time, right? Like, yeah,
Oh,
it's a hunting, I assume it's a hunting proverb. Like, softly, softly means like gently or slowly.
gently.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Catches the
yeah.
monkey. So take your time, be patient, and you will, you know, achieve your goal. That's my interpretation.
Okay. All
All
right.
right. Bye.